well as our supportive advisor, Professor Xinyu Zhang and Professor Dinesh Barabian, sitting there actually. So, however, due to unexpected visa issues, Ke is not able to attend here physically today. So let me start by stating the vision of ubiquitous sensing and interactions in smart environment has been sought after for a long time. So where smart text or passive sensors are becoming a very critical solution for lots of researchers and engineers to address this vision. So in today's IoT, we can actually see such smart responsive tags are blooming in a wide variety of applications. So such as like smart homes, supply chain, production line, healthcare, and personal entertainment. But regardless, there are still numerous aspects that can be pushed forward in the current state of art. So here I will give you a few examples. So the first example I want to give you is actually the barcode. So they are very cheap, printable. However, what if we simply encounters issue where the barcode is simply wear out? So this will lead to really failure of reader scanning, which is bad. So some of you may also want to argue with this kind of QR code, which is actually shown on a mobile smart app where people use it for the transaction purpose. So which we term as virtual tags. However, what if we meet a case where our phone screen is simply crashed, or our phone is kind of run out of battery? So finally, there are actually two common use tags that occurred in our daily life, which is the inductive coupled RFID and backscatter-based RFID. So they are very cheap and relatively small form factor. However, the drawback is that they are not really kind of printable, and the issue will occur if we broke the antenna accidentally. And also, because of non-printability, it will cause additional time and cost when shipping from the third-party vendors. Okay, so long story short, what we are going to ask is kind of question like this. So basically, can we fabricate the tag in a way such that it does not need battery? You can print it at any time, anywhere, by anyone, even though those people do not have very expertise, professional engineering skills. And also, they can be attached at anywhere, even though the surface is not really flat or the environment is kind of dirt. And finally, by using some existing passive sensors, can we transform such tags into some wireless sensors as required? So based on this, we therefore summarize 4 key design requirements that we regularly encounter for designing such tags, which are sensing, actuations, communications, and identifications. So for addressing these, as well as aforementioned criteria, we actually propose 4 guidelines for us. The first one is actually massive. Basically, this means can we simply manufacture such tags easily in a massive quantity scale? The second one is practical. So what does it mean is like, can we simply print them and attach them on a diverse of surface and environment, even though they are not really ideal spot? And the third one is actually what we call flexible, meaning by combining some existing passive sensors like temperature sensors, can we simply transfer them into a wireless version? And finally, it's a passive, which I mean here is simply batteryless. So to address this issue, we propose our idea, the CAPTAGs, the Capacity Sensing Communication Identification tags, as one of our very first pioneer potential solutions for future generation ubiquitous printable Internet of Things. So we would like to first introduce our preliminary work, the live tags, that was actually published in last year NSDI and highlighted by ACM Get Mobile. So as you can see on the screen, the key question we want to ask is like whether we can identify and differentiate interactive touch by our commercially existing Wi-Fi device. So The idea is to design a strong reflector to disturbing the Wi-Fi channel in a very deterministic way. So in this way, we can process and receive and process such Wi-Fi response, the channel response, from existing devices such as smartphones or laptop. So in this way, let's say our phone is able to identify and differentiate such fine-grained touch efficiently and ubiquitously. So to going further, it turns out that this tag can be incorporated in a wide variety of applications. So it can be included such as these funny ubiquitous sliders, buttons, and water level detectors. So what we mean is that everyone can make it as anytime they want. So what does our system look like? So first of all, in such system, we propose an efficient deck, the reader, which contains the printable antennas. So notice that such antennas can actually be harvested from our surrounding environment, such as, let's say, walls, furniture, as long as they are conductive. After that, we also have the tag system. So it also has a printable antennas as well, with a customized design resonator at different frequencies. So after detailed investigation, we decided to use over-the-air capacitive coupling as a sensing and communication medium. So for fundamental physics, we actually know that the capacitance does not really depend on the conductivity of a material as well as the geometric shape. This is actually good. So the reason is that in this way, we can actually open a new paradigm for printing sensing by printing such tags using the commercial available graphite carbon ink. So this actually greatly help us achieve all of these four aforementioned criteria. So how does it work? So I will give you a very simplified schematic which demonstrates the fundamental working principles. But in reality, it may be more complicated than this. So here is a very simplified schematic we use to model our tag system, where we use a discrete 2 femtofarad capacitor to emulate the reader tag coupling capacitance. We also use parallel connected inductors to emulate these customized design resonators, and same as before, we use this discrete capacitor to emulate this invisible coupling capacitance. So by running the AC frequency sweeping simulation using the SPICE, where the x-axis is showing the test frequency and y-axis is showing the current that is measured at the source side. So the first question I want to ask is like what we can see here. Well, it's very simple. So basically, just 3 peaks shown on the this simulation results. So this is actually the resonance effect artificially created by the 3 emulated resonators. So the second question may be more interesting, that what we can use this for. So the first aspect I want to mention about is called interactive touching. So people trying to using, this is actually good. So the reason is that by touching this resonator, so what we did essentially is disturb this over-the-air capacitive coupling or electric field. So by detecting the change of such electric field, which means is this resonance frequency, we can actually detect such fine-grained touching ubiquitously. And the second usage is actually what we call sensor interfacing. So in current, right now, people actually can purchase very local sensors such as temperature sensors, photo cells from Amazon or other third-party vendors, but they are not really like wireless enabled. So what we think is like by connecting these sensors into such printable antenna, we can actually correlate the electric field characteristic with the surroundings efficiently. So in this way, we can actually sense the surrounding environment in a wireless fashion. So for verifying our vision, and also as part of our preliminary work, we also conducted an experiment here. So it's a little bit crappy, but it demonstrates the basic principles. So what you can see here is actually the fundamental setup of the tag system, where the spectral analyzer and signal generator are used to emulate the tag reader. So by touch, these three inductors, we can actually measure the response. So this is actually shown at the left-hand side. So it's actually a zoomed, the magnified version. So as we can see here, by touching these three inductors respectively, the notch of this on this trace can actually show up. So one small thing I want to mention is like the yellow, blue, and the pink traces is actually occurs when I touch these three resonators individually. So there's another interesting fact is like, so if we observe the other region, they actually have some discrepancies among three traces. So we can actually utilize these features to detect what happened in the environment. So that's called surrounding sensing. So actually, as the engineering asked the question that the people asked in the previous presentation, one of the very important goals for designing such tags is actually to evaluate the sensitivity. So for demonstrate this clearly, we actually shown the correlation between the capacitance of a plate antenna and the corresponding distance. So here we assume it is in the free air, meaning the dielectric constant is 1. So our goal is to push the limit of tag reader distance. And one small thing to notice is like we use a 2-phantom para in our simulation. However, so this basically means that we have huge potential for next generation sensing. So as one step further, I'll be fast. I'm sorry. Yeah. So basically, I'm sorry, it's take a slightly long time. So as one step further, we actually envision to build a nice ecosystem containing such printable tags. So as a conclusion, we showed our timeline here. We'll first evaluate the sensing and interactive modalities carefully, and after that, we will design and prototyping our sensing system. So finally, we will build a whole ecosystem to evaluate its usability. So although I'm slightly obey like the time limit, but one thing I would like to say is like 30 years ago, the pioneers of ubiquitous computing, Mark Weiser, actually mentioned that the ubiquitous computing will dominate basically everything. But what we want to mention nowadays is like, I think that right now, what we are trying to do is to designing a really nice context-aware, passive, and invisible computing. It's actually go beyond the fundamental idea that he proposed. So this is the end of our presentation, and we are open to any questions. Thank you.
Thanks, Chen. If we have any questions,